continue with our second panel discussion on women in leadership, featuring another distinguished panel. This insightful discussion will be moderated by Mr. Timothy, partner of Journey Training and Consultancy, and Miss Flora, an OD and HR professional. Please take on the stage Mr. Tim and Miss Flora.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I would like to say, I would usually say good evening, but I realized that we come from all around the world, and I have to say good morning, good evening, good afternoon to different people in the group today. So me and Tim will be moderating the second session about women in leadership. So in a recent Forbes article, they highlighted that research has shown that companies with more women on their boards outperform those with, those without by a significant margin. And in fact, organizations with greater gender diversity, which we talked about inclusion just now, are also more profitable. So women leadership is actually very important in fostering diverse perspective and driving positive change globally. So today, we're going to take some time, and we know that women, they advance gender equality and also cultivate inclusive environment. So we are delighted to have a wonderful panel, like the first session, which I've shared so much information just now. We're delighted to introduce our esteemed panel of experts. I think I would like to give them more time to talk about it and share their thoughts about it, and comprising of leaders, advocates from all over the world. And they have a wealth of experience and insights from where they work. Together, we're going to talk about some of the complexities and opportunities for women leadership. And we also see how women are important in organizations. So let us join us in welcoming our distinguished guests, and Tim will tell you who will be joining us today. Over to you, Tim.
Thanks, Laura. Could we just maybe spotlight all our panelists? And I'll just run through who we have on our panel. We have got a really good panel of different individuals with varied backgrounds, and it's going to be a really interesting session. We had a great session in the first round. We've had very good conversations that went through, and I'm looking forward to even better conversations, if it's possible, in this second session that we're going to have together. And so let me just introduce to you the people that we have. We have 5 very distinguished panelists. And the first person that's on our panel is Deb. Unfortunately, I can't pronounce his first name, and we normally affectionately refer to him as Deb, and so we'll introduce him as Deb. He's the AVP of Culture of Atmosphere Corps. He has a rich career spanning over 2 decades, with nearly 7 years dedicated to the Atmosphere corporate team. He's deeply involved in talent acquisition and driving the process excellence within the organization, showcasing his multifaceted spearheading strategic initiatives. Next up on our panel is Dr. Safiya Muhammad, who's from the Trinidad and Tobago. Never been there, and I would love to go one day. She's the CEO of Sisu Global Wellness and a John Maxwell Leadership Coach. She's a globally recognized speaker and awarded medical doctor. So if you have medical questions, you can ask her later. From her deliveries in the UN Commission on the Status of Women forums to rural community discussions in her homeland, she walks in the purpose of impacting and inspiring lives positively. And we're looking forward to hearing a lot more from you through this panel. The third person that we have on our panel is somebody that you heard a lot of in the last session, and he's our esteemed moderator from the first panel session, Saurabh Attri, who is the Director of Global Learning in Manulife. I think you heard a lot from him just now, and you've heard the wisdom of his sharing. And Saurabh has over 20 years in the diverse industry experience, currently serving as the Director of Global Learning at Manulife. And prior to this role, he's held key positions at Gallup, where he coached CEOs and senior leaders on maximizing human potential. And his passion for women's development is rooted in his belief that it fosters greater compassion in the world. And you've heard him mention it a few times in the last panel. So we're looking forward to hearing from him as well in this session. The third person on our panel is Miss Aisha Adnan, who is based in the Maldives. And she's the Deputy Manager of Information Systems from Allied Insurance Company. She's also known as Aisha, and is a seasoned technology management professional recognized for her proficiency across various domains within the tech industry. And she's deeply committed to advancing gender equality within that industry through her role as the co-founder of Women in Tech Maldives. And lastly, on our panel, but not least, we have Miss Grace Munsayat, who's based in Singapore and the global CHRO of Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, where I like to go for coffee. Grace has over 20 years of experience leading people, customer capability, and culture agenda. She's worked in different industries such as HR consulting, insurance, semiconductor industry, FMCG, and the FMB. She's known for her authentic and heart-led leadership and is passionate on giving opportunity and creating a safe environment where everyone can bring their whole self and their best. And that's really what we want here in this panel discussion, where everybody has a safe environment to share and to share their opinions. And for those of you who are tuning in to this panel discussion, you can drop your questions into the chat. We'll get to the questions at the end of the session. We have 15 minutes that's dedicated at the end for Q&A. So if anytime anyone within the panel share something and you feel that you want to engage them further, we can do that at the end of the session, right? So just drop your questions in. We'll get to that at the end. Let's just kick off the panel discussion and give the panelists a lot more time to share their opinions on the topic that we were talking about today, which is women in leadership. And for that, I'm going to defer to Flora to kick us off with the first question to the panel.
Thank you, Tim. Well, we have such a wonderful panel today. We have somebody who's a tech expert, somebody who's a doctor, medical doctor. We have people from the hospitality industry, the finance industry, and as well as the F&B, Grace too as well. It's so wonderful to hear the different perspectives in the different industries with regards to women in leadership, and also for different countries too as well. Such a great panel. So I'd really like to kick off this panel by asking a very pertinent question about women in leadership. So to ask, what is your definition of leadership actually? So I want to ask our two gentlemen in our panel today. Maybe we can start off with Deb, because we've heard a lot from Suraf just now. So let's start off with Deb today, and we'd like to hear. Deb is the AVP culture. He's in charge of culture, and the people in culture are in charge of making sure inclusion is in, women is in. So Deb, share with us your definition about leadership.
Hello, everyone. Belated Women's Day, first of all, and very good afternoon to all the men also. I'm really glad to, hear all the discussions which was happening a while ago, and it is really, really very interesting, and glad to meet you, all of you. Thank you so much, guys. And yes, I'll not take much of time because Saurav has already spoken a lot about the leadership from the afternoon. And the leadership for me is the number of people who actually, follows you. And it's all about including everybody in the room. That's what leadership is all about. And in our company and the brand atmosphere, we have got 8 resorts and right now, and the ninth one is just happening, and that's why I was in a transition meeting. In all our 8 resorts, 6 of our general managers are ladies. So that itself speaks a volume about our company and our thought processes. And the reason why we are looking for more lady or female leaders is just amazing how they take the entire team together. So leadership for me is very simple. You have 200 people on the room, 200 people in the room are on board with you. Whatever your thought processes are, wherever you are taking the directions, but all those 200 people are on board. That means there is a huge lot of inclusions you have already done. That means not a single person is in a different track. That's for me is leadership.
Thank you, Dad. Maybe Suraf, you want to jump in on your? I think Suraf also mentioned something about he alluded to what sets women apart as leaders, but we'll go into that later. But maybe you can hear from Suraf.
Flora, thank you so much. And by the way, I love the energy, Flora, Timothy, you bring to the table. It really kind of livens me up. And Adept said beautifully already here. I won't take too much time, but I have one short question for everyone to answer. I would like all of you to go to the chat and think about the best leader you have ever had in your life. Whether man, woman, doesn't matter. The important is what characterizes the best leader. So go into the chat and write down what made that person the best leader for you. What made that person the best leader for you? Trust. What else? Let's gonna put all your thoughts in. Think about what made that person the best leader for you. Because if we talk about leadership, we need to know what a great leader looks like. And I'm going to talk about exceptional leadership. What defines exceptional leadership? And the other aspect we'll cover later on would be, are leaders born or are leaders made? And we'll unpack that today as well. Yeah. Care. Let's hear 2 more comments, Flora. I'll just take 2 minutes. Yeah. This will be very insightful.
I was about to read it for you too as well.
Fair enough. This is really great, right? This is really great. Keep adding, and everyone, just put your thoughts in. This is going to be very important that you put your thoughts in, because it might be a big realization for you what we are seeing right now. Transparent, empowers, communication, fantastic. You know what's interesting, everyone here? What's even more interesting is not what you've said, but what you haven't said. Because I'm not hearing any of you tell me that the best leader was the smartest person in the room from the Harvard Business School, 20 years of people lead. I'm not hearing all those things. They could have been. But all I'm hearing you say, what made that person the best leader for you is how that person made you feel, how that person fulfilled your needs, isn't it? So I say, and I bet if I go and ask each of your team members, describe the best leader they have ever had, I'll bet they'll say similar things. Somebody's got my back, who empowers me, who trusts in me, who cares about me, isn't it? You'll hear similar things. So fundamentally, I say, if leadership is about understanding people's needs and fulfilling them, shouldn't we just go do that, isn't it? So I say if leadership is about understanding people's needs and fulfilling them, shouldn't we just go do that? That's my definition of leadership, is leadership who have the power of empathy, who can really feel the emotions of people. And here it is. I say a leader is a leader, not because of the position or title. A leader is a leader because of the people who follow them. So I say leaders, if a person has no followers, he's just an individual walking their own path. So we need to understand the needs of followers. And through Gallup's research, there are 4 needs of followers to think about: hope, trust, compassion, and stability. If you can evoke these 4 emotions in a person, you will get the followership from it. And that's why I say, if I have to combine all these 4 into one aspect only, I call them attention. And this particular thing is attention dollars. So as a leader, if you want to be a great leader, man or woman, doesn't matter. The key here is you have $1440 every day. You choose where you spend them every single day, whether you become a leader or you become a follower, you become whatever you want. And what are $1440? Is 1440 minutes every day. You choose. You want to become a leader, you have to invest that in people to build hope, trust, compassion, stability, give them attention, and you get followership. And pause here, Laura, just to bring that perspective in right now.
Thank you. Actually, when you asked me to think about the words, I've been very blessed to have women leaders in my organization. So in the last organization, I spent 7 years in the Ministry of Finance in Singapore. And my leader is actually a woman leader. And she does so much for communication. She reaches out to us, not only on the intellectual level, but also on a heart-to-heart level, where she recognizes and sees each of us. And that's what made her a really, really different leader. Thank you for bringing that question in. And if anybody else has any comment about what we say during the panel, you can just jump in and put a statement in the chat, and we can pick it up, and we can pick it up for you. Maybe you want to move on to the second question, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, I have had the same experience, honestly. I've had female leaders and I've had male leaders, and my best experiences with leaders have all been female leaders. And I think they bring something different to the table that, I mean, I don't get with my interactions with male leaders, unfortunately. And that's really what we're going to talk about in the second question. And that's really, what sets women apart as leaders. What's it different, being a woman leader versus a man who's a leader, and what are the value adds that a woman can bring into a leadership role? Let's start with Sarah, since we were talking about this a little bit.
Is that question for me, Tim?
Yes.
So I think what differentiates great leaders is the ability to transform other people's lives. And when I say transform, transformation happens at three levels: the head, the heart, and the hands. Normally, we combine all three. It becomes very confusing when it comes to people, relationship, leadership. So I say, if you want to become a great leader, separate these three aspects. What is a mindset shift or head shift? Is when we can create a buy-in, right? People would follow you only if you give them hope, if you give them aspiration in the future, right? If you can inspire them. Without that mindset shift, the heart won't come along, the hands won't come along. Yeah. Now, that's the first step, is mindset shift. Second is a emotional shift, and that's an important part. If people don't feel that you are somebody who's trustworthy, compassionate, caring, or then they will not follow you, right? Isn't it? So it's very important to connect the heart to heart. That's why I say women leaders have an advantage over men leaders purely because their ability to connect emotionally out there. Because the way I look at different leadership is very different now. People think, oh, you're in a position of power. When you're 70 years old, no, and you're at a cold storage or a hypermarket, you're carrying those white bags, old and frail, and a person who you had managed sees you from a distance and they don't even come to help you, you were a terrible leader. Let's be honest about this. Real leadership is not position or title. Real leadership is what Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King gave. You don't have to pay them money to follow them. They gave them a purpose, isn't it? So we have to start thinking differently. Is the emotional shift requires genuine care and compassion to benefit that person's growth. And third is behavior, actions. If you can't inspire actions, what kind of leader are you, right? Then people can't unite behind a common purpose. So I will break it down into three aspects. Great leaders transform mindsets, connect emotionally, and are able to inspire action and contribution to people.
Yeah, which really brings back to the point where, I mean, these are characteristics of great leaders in general. In looking at these three aspects, you talked about head, you talked about heart, you talked about hands. What sets women apart from men leaders? In these three aspects, what do women do differently, or what do women do better, if that's a good word to
I
use?
think we saw just now the Gallup one that you presented, that they have relational. One of the strengths is relational, right? So other than that's one that we saw. Was there another one, another quality that you see that women bring onto the table, to the leadership team? Yeah.
Well, if you see the data here, right, the data sort of says it all. Now, here's the interesting thing. Don't just be blinded by the data. Put that into perspective, because what I tend to see, and I've done a lot of coaching for leadership teams in the region, I do see a lot of women who may not have empathy rise to the top of the food chain, interestingly, yeah? And that just tells me that you're putting somebody with a different gender with the same mindset, right? And that's not what we're looking for. We want inclusion of different thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And the problem is actually the club. It's true, there is a club on the top of the food chain. So what happens is, when you're not somebody who is from that mindset, you get shuffled up. And I've seen that time and time again. I've spoken to and I've coached women leaders also who had empathy high, and they were automatically shunned out of that environment because people saw them as being different, and that did not get accepted really well. We tend to surround ourselves with people who think like us, feel like us, behave like us, even from a different gender, and that doesn't work quite well. So my sense is, what stands women apart is the ability to build a human connection, empathy, and we should embrace that. We should not be sorry for it. We should be embracing that and bring that to the forefront. This is who I am. That's what makes me strong, right? Empathy is being strong. It's not being weak here. Yeah, Laura.
Thank you. Thanks for that sharing. Good. Actually, we wanted to hear from Deb, especially so because he has 6 female leaders on his team. And I would really want to know what sets, the females from the males in the
Thank you.
leadership team. Whether how decisions make better too as well, and how collectively as a leadership team. Yeah. Tell us
Thank
more
you.
about that.
Yes, I'll share a few names first, and these names are world-renowned, and I'd like to all of you to understand what is the common factor behind these names, and the names are Indra Nooyi, Hillary Clinton, Mary Barr, Sheryl Sandberg, um, Beyonce, Mary Kom, Serena Williams. Do you know what are common thing between all these ladies?
Heroes.
I have no idea.
They are all mothers.
Okay.
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 Why
Yeah,
is my
that is the
name not
point.
there?
That is the
Why is my
point.
name not there?
Okay, you include
Flora.
Flora. Flora's Flora
Yes.
as well.
So what I'm trying to bring to your attention is the human nature, and let's talk nature because that's where it all starts from. If data are speaking about empathy, the nature actually has given the answer before that data. I mean, I'm not denying the fact, but hey, look at a lady that who is a mother who has got the motherly love and the empathy already. So that is the unique factor which comes to the table when it comes to the leadership, and the ladies cannot, a woman cannot be without that. And when taking a decision, these are the key factors which plays a vital role in key decision makings in terms of doing a certain things in a certain way in a large organization. And we have a resort which was actually fumbling. And when there was a transition between a lady, a gentleman who was replaced by a lady gen manager, within a 60 days, she had transformed the entire 400 souls on the island just by being with them. And when I say being with them, that means purposefully being and listening and talking to them, understanding them. And that is what sets a lady leader or a woman leader apart from lot of men leaders, and not all again. So I can visualize things. I have seen things. I have been seeing things now also as a corporate leader. When I was there 3 months back in that resort, and today when I go back to the resort, there has been a paradigm shift in the entire thought process of people, and the reason is because is there is a lady leader who constantly and looks and listens to the people and gives and share an amount of love every day through various activities. It's not that she is not strict. It is not that she is not doing a job in terms of driving or achieving something, but there is a soft component which comes to the table every day, which people realizes over a period of time. And that is what I know sets things apart.
Just to track back a little bit, something that Saurav said about attraction, right? Where people in leadership, they tend to attract the same kind of people to them, right? And to get that shift where you talk about, this male general manager handing over to a female general manager, what do you think has to change at the top to allow that shift, right? Where the perspectives are changed, where the openness is there to look at something different or bring in somebody different with a different perspective, with a different view on how things should be done, because that's really where. Deb, you still with us? Okay, he's disappeared for a bit, right? But I mean, what has to shift in order for that to make that change to happen? Because it happened. I mean, it happened in your resort, right? But it doesn't happen in all organizations because they tend to attract a lot of the people that think the same way and toe the same line and have the same kind of culture. They attract the same kind of culture, right? And you've seen it successfully happen in your organization, in your resorts. And what do you feel has changed to allow that within your organization?
I think there is a focus which is to understand the people. So in a leadership, when we don't understand the people and we try to lead, that's where people go wrong. And if you are leading a team of 300, 400 diverse group and a various age group and a various people around, if you don't understand and align yourself to what they really want, and you start achieving your KPIs or goals or what have been set to you, that's where people go wrong. And a woman today is so tuned to getting understanding the people and then driving or then leading the team is what makes it more successful. And that's what is what we are talking over here, that there are enough and good gentlemen, good men who are great leaders across the world, but in our place in the resorts, they have somewhere not able to understand the entire gamut, the 360 purview of what the really people want. And it is beyond the policies, it is beyond the SOPs, it is beyond what is expected every day to for them to be done. If you understand those nuances or those unsaid needs and wants, that is where the motherly love or compassion what comes into the picture, that is what makes it different.
I'd love the opportunity to chime in onto that question.
Well, please do.
So good afternoon, everyone. Good morning to those who are from the Caribbean tuning in. I am Dr. Safia Mohammed, as you all have been introduced to, and it is indeed my pleasure to be one of the sole persons from this part of the hemisphere to join you all across at Maldives and Singapore and South Africa in this magnanimous summit here. The nuggets and the wisdom that we have all been sharing and learning is such meaningful nuggets, and I do know that it's going to create such transformational shifts. I want to just add a perspective onto that definition of leadership, that aspect of what makes, I think, a woman different. And while we explore the component of empathy, which is very important when we look at the basic human needs of what any person needs to thrive, we also look very closely at how women collaborate and how women communicate. And there's a distinctive difference in our abilities, very unique in the way we have that opportunity to communicate. Couple years ago, in 2014, in fact, 10 years ago, Malala Yousafzai, Nobel Peace Prize winner, visited Trinidad and Tobago. And I had the opportunity of being her personal physician. And she at that time was just 17 years old. And I was enthralled in the way she stood in front of hundreds, thousands of persons and used the power of her voice. And here's the catch 22. While we as women have a unique ability to communicate and connect, not often do we have the confidence to use that unique skill. And that is something that, if anything, we move forward in developing our women leaders, is encouraging that confidence to use their voice purposefully and intentionally, as Malala, as Deb mentioned, Serena, as so many other women leaders have been able to achieve. So those two skill sets of being able to communicate and collaborate, I've found are really unique skills that women leaders thrive on. And I'm sure everyone may agree on to that.
Dr. Safia. Actually, I'm going to move on to the next question. I want to hear more from the women now. As a woman, I would like to hear from Aisha. What are the common challenges women face in leadership? Oh, and you are in tech, it's a predominantly male industry from where I see it. And I would like to find out, maybe you can share a little bit about your either your personal journey or, share about what, challenges in general women would face.
Hi, yes, happy Women's Day to everyone. Flora, I think you said it right. Throughout the world, it's a predominantly a male-dominated field, and it's quite challenging to be part of the field, and let's say, especially in a leading position. What I have observed is I basically have two set of teams. One is very much male dominated, and the other is fully female dominated. So I see that the two sides of two teams. So let me try to see, like, when I started leading teams
Can you
in
put the
the
thing one more
technology sector.
very slow?
Sorry?
I think it's just somebody from the audience. Please.
Oh,
Please.
all right. Yes. So when I started, let's say that obviously I started from the very, very bottom and then moved up to a level of leading a software development team, I would say. So the first one that came in was like, okay, I'm going to lead a team of male software developers. So am I really capable? Can I really do this? Will they accept me? And all the years of experience that I had, it didn't matter. I'm talking about the imposter syndrome that women, we usually have. So we have sort of that feeling that we need to really, really prove that we have this ability. We really need to show them. So I even had it when I started. Like, I was trying to read, understand, and go back and see, like, what are the things that I had to prove myself that I have these abilities and skills. So I think that is one of the things that we often see, not only in the leadership level, but all other technical levels as well, especially women. We see that. And I am actually very fortunate because my team, they did accept me, accepted my guidance and all. But when a female comes and joins, the perspectives and the things that they consider, the details, that was not, my team was not very familiar with that. So they even took some time to learn who I am and why I do this and why I consider about emotions, family, and the free time, the mental health, why that matters. So suddenly somebody come and jump in and then saying these things, or let's plan it this way. So it's a new thing for them as well. So it took me some time to get adjusted to this because I was learning each and every one. Other than that, I also see that usually technology, the teams are very much goal and goal oriented, and we also work in a lot of pressure. We have a lot of deadlines. And when we work in really agile environments, the organizations are dependent on us. What I see is that the leadership and work and life balanced role, it is quite challenging. Because we have support teams and other development teams always. How do I bring that balance? So that is not something anybody teaches in any university or anywhere. So with every team, with every assignment that we get, it becomes difficult. But sometimes we feel that, okay, like, can we really do this? Or are we spending too much time at work? So I guess it's also about having your team supporting you, saying that, look, these are women. They, of course, if we consider the Asia, the primary responsibility of the parents, even the kids, are on us. So we really have to work together with the team and see that how we can actually support people. Because after all, we are all human. We cannot just neglect that part and say that, hey, we are working. Okay, so we cannot focus on these and these things. But when we are spending a lot of hours at work, so that means here in the Maldives, we work for 8 hours. So that's a lot of time. So if you consider your whole life, if you are not happy or you are not with the team that is supporting you, I think as women leaders, we will definitely fail. So we need that support from the team as well. Another thing that I also see here, especially in the technology sector and being a woman, considering less female leaders, especially here in the Maldives, very difficult for me to get that mentorship and support. That is one thing that I see as challenging right now. But we have few female leaders in the sector now. So we are actually connecting, talking, and seeing how that we can move forward. So those are some of the things that I've seen and experienced. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop right there since I think you mentioned a little bit about you actually gave a little bit of advice and you shared with us your challenges. You know, when you were sharing us your stories, I think the women in this room are like nodding, and I'm like nodding, because those are really real issues. You know, we have to work and then we have to take care of the kids, and then we have parents too as well. It's really a huge challenge for all the women, all my girlfriends too as well. So maybe you could just share with us a little bit more since you're on that topic. What advice would you give to a woman before we go to Grace and Sophia and hear about their stories as well and their advice for our women? So maybe Aisha, you could share a bit of advice. What if you had to give an advice to me who wants to be a better leader, or the women out there, what would your advice be?
Okay, so I would say that be confident. So that is what may make you make decisions and trust in your abilities and things also. I did work a lot to improve my skills, especially being confident with the decisions that you make, because your team will rely on you. So that means if you don't have a confidence of the decisions you make, the directions you set, and the way that you work, nobody is going to believe you, and you will still be going for that imposter syndrome. So I believe any leader who works in this field, one of the thing is being confident. The other one is you understand the people, because you are going to work with the people. As I said before, like work and life balance is doing things. You need that support. So connecting with the people and being confident. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Actually, I think I've jumped into Tim's question. Sorry, Tim.
It's all right.
You
You're
know,
right. We just move from there. It's okay.
this women got me really, really excited because those
Got
issues
you
are just
excited about the
so
topic?
close to my heart. The challenges I have. I'm on like a break now, like from work, because all these issues about women and leadership and my children and everything else. So that's my personal story aside. But maybe we can listen to Dr. Safia and then we'll come to Grace. Dr. Safia, if you have any, maybe a little bit of your challenges, your own advice.
Certainly.
Grace, okay?
So in terms of looking at some of the challenges, and yes, it is the same thing across in the Caribbean as it is in Maldives and Singapore, that work-life balance. Now, I have shifted away from that concept of work-life balance because I think it is an elusive goal that is unattainable and unachievable. And it adds a level of guilt onto us that we must achieve it. Oprah Winfrey actually said, we can achieve all things, but not all at the same time. And here's the thing, while I'm here in this session, I'm not the perfect mother because I'm not attending to my son. When I'm seeing my patients, I am giving my patients the 100%. But when I'm with my son, I'm giving him that 100%. So we have to find means and ways of creating work-life blends. So a simple way that I could try to create and ensure, say, my own walking the talk and taking care of my own personal fitness is my son and I. We've been exercising and doing meditation. He's 12, but he's been doing meditation and mindfulness since he was age 3. He could probably lead a meditation course for you all now at age 12 because he's seen and mirrored his mom do it. So you find activities to achieve together in that work-life blend. I've had to overcome some of those work-life balance challenges by creating very specific boundaries. And this took, just like Aisha mentioned, that confidence, that self-assertiveness to be able to bring that to the workplace and share, listen, I can give 110% of myself between X and Y, but between Z and A, or between whatever other time, this is family time. So let's make sure this is my priority. And in I am doing that, I then give other mothers the permission to do the same. And this is so important. Now, a big challenge that we have seen, and I want to bring back in the theme for this year, International Women's Day, which is investing, acceleration for progress, is that women need to feel confident in investing in themselves. Let's say we have a budget of $10,000 and your child wants something. Clickety fingers, you're doing that. But let's say a coaching course comes forward. You will ponder on it, and not make that investment in yourself. And that is a big challenge I've seen. A lot of my mentees, because I coach a lot of women in business development as well, even though I'm a doctor, having founded a company which is 5 years old, I've had the opportunity of coaching a lot of women. They come to me for advice. And a big part of that is I encourage them to invest in themselves. And that, I believe, is two very important challenges. And when women start to shift that mindset that they are worthy of this investment. Now, my
Sorry, you're on
apologies.
mute. Yes.
Yes, my apologies. On the point of investment, and I think you said that early on, something along the lines of some of the disparities. Recently in a report, and I can't remember if it's a Gallup report, Sarah, so forgive me, but I remember reading it early on in the beginning of January when all these marketing data reports comes out. And they talked about venture capital funding for the women companies or women startups. And it said something like the percentage was 2.2%. However, the revenue generated from women-founded companies are really significant. And let me just bring those values in. So they said female-founded companies generate something like $730 billion globally. However, they may receive only about 100 billion total investment. So a 2.5% equity gap. So when we look at female companies, female founded companies, and my company is a female founded company, we see the lack of investment. And in founding those companies and getting that momentum to start and progress and thrive, the investment capital out there is not available. Now, my company is 5 years old, and one of the big missions that I established is the minute I can, I will continue to put investments in other female companies. And thus far, 5 years after, I've put investments into 17 female companies. Now, it might not need to be a big amount. Sometimes a small amount can show that you believe in that person and you're willing to invest in them to thrive. So there are many mindsets we need to shift away from. Some of the major challenges, as I said, is that confidence, that self-assuredness, that work-life balance that we need to throw out the window. And of course, a big part of it is the investment capital.
Thank you, Dr. Sophia. Actually, out of the 3 women we have here, I think 2 of them are like, they're really women leaders. They're in the, I think they have to rush off soon somewhere. So that's why, I immediately jumped in and asked them, for their rich, experience and advice for other women too as well. So now I'm gonna, so if you see them going off screen, don't be surprised. They have to be at practice and they have to be at meetings. Somebody needs them out there and it's not their family's work now, okay? So I'm gonna jump to Grace now. Grace, maybe you can share with us, your journey and then
it's actually very interesting. I was listening to Aisha, and it seems like Aisha and I had conversation before this call. I guess it's quite common, right? More than 70% of women experience imposter syndrome in their career. So I want to, deep dive into that. So typically, in corporate, men would be proactive to ask for promotion, ask for new assignment, or volunteer for new opportunities even they don't meet 100% of the requirements. They're just bold, they're just confident that they can do it, and they're comfortable actually taking risks. However, for us women, in most cases, we usually ask for promotion or new assignment. We think that if we are really good and appreciated by our bosses, then they should intuitively think about promoting us. In addition, when opportunity comes, there's a lot of overthinking about it, saying that I don't tick all the boxes, therefore I don't think I should pursue this opportunity. And even when we succeed, we always give credit to others and try to externalize it, right? Rather than celebrating our achievement. So I think we should be kinder to ourselves and acknowledge that we are good enough. But this is a big challenge. And just looking at the room when Aisha was nodding her head and shared her story, we do this all the time, and we need to be better on this, and also build that confidence on others also that they're doing a great job, and remove that imposter syndrome. So maybe the second challenge, and can relate. I think Dr. Sabia mentioned about this, and Aisha also mentioned. So similar, kind of struggles or challenges we're facing. We can see a lot of women entering workforce at entry level. So big population. It could be around like 80%. And what I observe is that women representation drops when we look at the career ladder at management and senior management level, which is really sad story, right? So balancing multiple roles as career woman, wife, mother, caregiver to others becomes very challenging. And sometimes we think that we have to do it all by ourselves, and we don't ask for help or flexibility. I think we should stop feeling guilty for not being there and not doing everything for everyone. It's okay to ask for help and also receive help. We should build a stronger support system that allow us women to succeed. So that's my take on this question.
I really like what Dr. Sophia and you yourself, Grace, mentioned about having that support system. I mean, you don't have to do it alone. You need to have people around you to be able to support you, to build that confidence. I like that term, work-life blend. It's a very good term. We talk about balance and trying to juggle things and you know make sure that everything you cover all bases, and sometimes it's very hard because you're pulled in many different directions. And what you said about when you're here it's 100% focused. When I'm at work, when I need to do something, 100% focused on that. When I'm with my family, 100% focused on that, right? And that's where the clear divisions are, and that's where that balance is created. And I really like that term. I'm just gonna go pull in the guys on what their perspective is on what these ladies have shared, and how perhaps when we talk about a support system and creating an environment, the responsibility doesn't just lie with the women to support other women, right? We support them as a society, in general, we support them. So maybe just bringing in the guys and to how we could facilitate that process, or we could help with that process of supporting women to be able to thrive in leadership. Let's go to Sarah.
So thank you, Tim, and great perspectives from all this, Dr. Sophia, Aishat, and Grace. Couple of elements I'm going to tie in together to what they've said, right? So if you think about what Dr. Sophia spoke about, is sort of building that confidence in that women, creating that opportunity, the imposter syndrome, right? So I say, right, what is an imposter syndrome? If you've not done something before, you feel like an imposter, isn't it? So it's all about experience. Once you've done something, you don't feel like an imposter because your brain has formed synaptic connections of doing that action a couple of times already, isn't it? And this is something which we need to start thinking about from childhood. Yeah. What needs to change for women leaders to really thrive? And I'll tell you where women leaders are doing really well and where they're struggling with as well there. So why women leaders are doing really well, to what Deb said, right? Understanding people, right? And Dr. Safi said communication. So I break it down into two-way. Communication is a two-way process, right? So for me, the common thread there is listening skills. Listening skills. Women are better listeners because they pay attention to the non-verbal cues also. And why that is important, because in the past generation of people, it was very much top down. People tell you what to do and you go and do it, right? That worked pretty well from that world and that mindset. Now, where the world has changed is, ask yourself, right? Now, you're dealing with a whole new generation of people, Gen Z, Generation Alpha. You're dealing with a group of people who don't even listen to their parents. Why would they listen to you? Isn't it? And that's where meeting people where they are at becomes even more important. That's why listening skills becomes important. So women do have an advantage in leading to a new generation of people, whether it's generation alpha millennials, by ability to connect with them and meet people where they're at, listening to the non-verbal cues also. The other aspect of imposter syndrome is my question back to you, right? Are leaders born or are leaders made? What do you guys think? Are leaders born or are leaders made? Are leaders born or are leaders made? What do you guys think? Quick question, yeah? It will be insightful.
Both.
And here it is,
I'm
right? Flora, quick question, huh? I've got all
firmly
these.
believe leaders are lead.
I think May and then a little bit bored.
Yeah, so I'll
No,
tell you.
if I go by Gallup, leaders are made.
So I'll get you both. Huh? Both. Leaders are born and leaders are made. So some characteristics that leaders typically tend to have are these. There is the ability to charm people, influence people, the charisma, right? So some people are born with charisma. You'll see in kids also when they get the center of attention, they get a lot of attention. But here it is, right? You could have those specific patterns of behavior, but if you don't practice it, you won't build those social skills. So it's also the opportunities to practice those behaviors that gets somebody who has natural talent to succeed. But that doesn't mean somebody who doesn't have that charisma can't build those social skills. People do it by building relationships over many, many years, right? And they build their own social network also. So, yes, both charisma or rather social skills, people are born with and they can build it. Similarly, confidence and courage could be built by doing the work, by building that synaptic connection in the brain. So, I want to give hope to all women here. If you've never been in leadership roles, doesn't mean you can't become leader. You can start today. And this is also a responsibility for all mothers. Please change the narrative for your daughters at a very young age. Don't tell them you should not compete with the boys, you should not do this, because we are telling them you're not supposed to be a leader here today. Why do you think that changes? So all these personality traits I'm showing is not something that showed up because someone took an assessment. It was curated over a lifetime of repetition. Narratives needs to change at a very young age. When two women get together, ask yourself, what do they talk about? Yeah. Are they talking about, oh no, I'm looking like this, I'm wearing this clothes? Or, and you look at two men, when they talk, what they talk about? They talk about career, they are their bosses. So that narrative needs to change at a very young age also. That's when leadership will thrive internally. And I say, forget about imposter syndrome, think about the learning curve. It's a learning curve, that's all. Yeah, we all need to go through learning curve. And that starts to what Dr. Savi said, confidence. Confidence starts by decision making. We should allow women at a very young age to make their own decision every single day. We should not hold them back because we put this stigma on their minds. Oh, this will happen. You should be careful. We put the fear. Yeah. The moment we instill fear, automatically confidence comes down. Now, yes, we are in a society that is dangerous. No doubt about that. We have to protect, but not restrict. We have to protect, but not restrict their growth as a person who can thrive in leadership roles also. And if you see, all the women who've become successful have had those opportunities of making decisions in their life. So it was not today that they became a leader. It's a journey that they have built up over time. That's what I would say with leadership is. Deb, let's kind of hear your perspectives also. So I think you've got something to add there.
Yeah, I have
I'm
something.
gonna, sorry, can I just pause for a moment? I think I'm gonna ask just before Aisha, Lisa, do you want to have, want to tell your takeaway or something to tell us before you leave? Because I know you have to rush off too as well.
Thank you, Flora. This has been a very insightful discussion, and I feel very sad to leave, but I think more discussions like this should occur because this is just one discussion, few minutes, but these things I think globally or regionally should be organized. And furthermore, especially in the Asia, we see less celebration of women in the leadership positions. We don't see those examples here. So I think as in organizations like this, we can focus on that aspect as well. I wish to see more events and more celebration of women. And all the best and good luck to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Aisha. Thank you. It was great to see somebody in tech, leader in tech, female leader in tech with us today. So amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you very
so much
much
for your time.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump back in. I'm sorry I cut you, Suraf, and then to Deb. Yeah, back to you. So sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely fine. I think to make it things very simple and how we have to look into is that all of us need to respect our own values, and the values when you start respecting, then who you are, and when you know who you are creating your self brand, And when you are creating your self brand, that means you are going out. You are actually who you are to the entire world. And the last thing which I like to say to all the ladies are your dreams should be scary. And I'm repeating myself, your dreams should be scary because if you are not dreaming scary, you are not dreaming big. So if you are not dreaming big, you are not be able to make it. That's all.
I love that. And I'm an OD person. I'm going to tell the people your vision must be scary. You know, if not, it's not good enough.
The dream.
It should push you every day. It should push you every day to move forward. That's so important to Deb's point, right? Very important.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think we have one question that somebody left in the chat, which I think is quite an interesting question that I want to throw to the panel first. I know Dr. Shafia, you have to leave as well. So we'll go to you first. But the question is, when faced with discrimination in the workplace, how do you overcome this by boosting your self-esteem? As humans, we might be hesitant to connect with those who discriminate, especially when you're discriminated by a female. Right. So from your perspective, Dr. Shafia, before you have to make a move.
Thank you so much. That's a very important question, and I'm glad the person placed that. Now, here's the thing. Anyone, and I think we need to understand that, anyone who inflicts trauma, hurt onto another individual has definitely had a history or a background of hurt before. And that's something that's been proven. And many times we need to take a step back and understand, is it coming from their perspective or is it truly directed to us? And 99.9% of the times, it is not directed to us, but it is their insecurity that they are either reflecting and expecting you to mirror a response. You now have to challenge that status quo of the discrimination and decide, how do you want to react? Do you need to return that, or do you react with empathy? Do you react with understanding and compassion and recognizing it is not directed to you? Now, yes, there's discrimination all across in many different ways. My young son, he's on the spectrum, and we still have challenges within the educational sector, not just in Trinidad, across the board, and what opportunities he have. But that also gives us the opportunity to create change. So when discrimination happens, I've found, take a step back, realize where did it come from, what is the root cause, and then decide what is your acts going forward. Now, yes, I do have a hard stop. My sincerest apologies. I would love to continue in this particular panel here. In mere minutes, I have to start seeing patients, and I'm told that I have a packed schedule. So I'm hoping it's okay if I can add in my closing comments one time. Is that
Please go ahead.
Sure, yes.
I think it's so important that women support women and we stand together in solidarity. I want to just draw an example. Yes, I've spoken on so many panels across the world, from United Nations to right here Maldives to South Africa to Geneva, all across the world. And I remember distinctly, there was one panel, there were 8 men and 1 female, myself being the female. And I stopped and I told them, no, I'm absolutely not speaking until you include more women in the panel. Come, find some more. And here's the interesting thing, and I'm sorry, Aisha had to leave. It was actually a tech panel, and they kept giving me all these excuses. They won't find. I was like, well, too bad, I'm not speaking. And they really wanted myself to speak, so they got others they can find. So sometimes we have to step up to that challenge and ensure when we reach the table, we create a seat for another woman and not see it as a space of competitiveness, but see it as a space of upliftment. Because when we uplift others as women, as we empower others, we empower ourselves further. And Sarav, I love that statement when you said about changing the narrative to our daughters. We also have to change the narratives to our sons. I make it a specific point that my son is part of the care work at home. He takes part in the normal household chores, and he recognized that not as something that he needs to be paid for because we know young boys, he recognizes it as part of his responsibility and duties. So it is up to us as mothers to recognize that we are leaders in every single space we are in, from the home environment to the work environment to the community environment. And it's up to us to change that narrative, stand in solidarity with our sisters, invest in each other, invest in yourselves. And that's my closing comments. It really has been a privilege to learn from each one of you all. And Imelda, huge congratulations to yourself and Aminath and your entire magnanimous team for bringing this together. I think we were part of the seed conversation, 2 or 3 years ago within the pandemic. Huge congratulations. And we look forward to having the AWE in the Caribbean.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're talking to the AWE president of the Caribbean right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Fantastic.
Sophia. Great to have you on board. See you. Have a good practice. Yay.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, but maybe we would like we'll jump in and maybe we would ask for that. Be share with us, your takeaways or for the session today.
Yeah, there are a lot. Thank you so much, and like to thank each one of you, Imelda, Saurav, Flora, Madam Fazna, and Miss Aminat, for this lovely platform you have created. And I think you all rock. That's what in hotel language or hospitality language we normally say that yes, you have done a beautiful job, by creating this platform and creating this entire environment, which is very, very, exciting. Key takeaway, yes, as we have been talking, that we have to help each other as woman has to help the woman, the men has to also put the right foot forward to encourage this entire scenario. And yes, be yourself. I mean to say, let's get into simpler mode of leadership. What Howard or Cornell or the Stanford has taught is just the simple ways of leadership skills. And I will brag about my company as Atmosphere, that we believe in very simple ways of doing things, and that's where we are making that disruption. And we are leading the disruption and not getting disrupted. So that's another very key important thing, that let's get into simpler methods and ways of leading the entire world. The world wants simplicity. The world wants empathy. So that's my takeaway, and that's my giveaway also. As I have promised Imelda that she said that do share with us, Dave, whatever you have got. I said yes. Our ethos is of the company's joy of giving, and definitely what I'll say is purely from what we are doing. We are a successful business model. We are expanding to India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan with 25 new resorts. And we are going to Indonesia, Vietnam, Laos in the next 3 years' time, not now, but we are expanding to Africa and Middle East with another 3 to 4 resorts as of now. So it's a big expansion. And the bottom line of this expansion is that we believe in simplicity. We believe in ourselves. We believe in grit and gut. And that also applies to all the women in this in the entire forum today. So believe in yourself, in your grit and gut, and that is one of the leadership skills we all should must chisel and shape, so that we use it on a daily basis, that whatever the gut feelings are there, go for it. Go, and as I again told you, that if your dreams are not scary enough, that means it is not big enough. So go for those dreams, those who which you want to achieve in future. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much, Deb.
Thank you, Deb.
I'm learning
Thank
so
you.
much today. I learned about, making your visions and dreams scary, changing the narratives,
Yeah,
disrupting things, right? So we've been used
absolutely.
to
Absolutely.
things going a certain way, and it's obviously not got us where we want as a society. And it's about
And
really
disrupt with
changing it.
simplicity. Yeah, simplicity. That's the world needs. The world has gone too complicated. So let's make it simple world.
It certainly has. I think we live in a very complicated.
Take care, guys. Take
world.
care.
Thank you so much, Deb. Let's move to Grace. Grace, maybe just to frame it slightly differently. So how do you feel a woman can support another woman in the community or in the organization that you're in? And maybe after that we'll have your final thoughts on this whole discussion that we've had.
Yeah, I think for all of us women, we should always uplift each other by encouraging um, all women in different environment, whether it's at workplace and being, intentional about it, whether at workplace, in our family, in our circle of friends, or even in the community. We should be the cheerleader for each other. We should be happy for each other and celebrate each other's success. We should also look for opportunity on how to help build confidence of other women. I like what Saru mentioned about it. It's really in my notes as well of like we should change the narrative and be intentional on building confidence of young girls in exploring opportunities, making choices for themselves and uplift them even when they make mistakes. So I think this is really important. And I like what Dr. Sophia also mentioned about change the narrative even for the young boys. I think I'm really grateful to my mother-in-law. My husband has been, I think trained really well and raised well by my mother-in-law. And I feel like I'm more supported because my husband was raised in a different environment and expectations were different for me. So I'm all for that. So I would say, for all women to be confident, courageous to speak up, pursue your dream, and make a difference and lead.
It's really the choices that we make as parents, as leaders, and that brings about what happens in the next generation. And we need to be cognizant of what happens and how we decide to bring up our children and how we decide to portray ourselves as leaders. And that's really important. Thank you so much, Grace, for sharing that with us. And last but not least, Soraya, can we have your thoughts on the session and just to close us off?
Thank you, Tim. Just want to check with everyone. Is it okay if I have a difficult conversation? Because we talk about simplicity and disruptive mindset. Can I disrupt your mind if I have your permission? Yes. And here's why I say that, right? Because I believe the human mind is like an oyster. You put a grain of sand in an oyster, what happens? If you put a grain of sand in an oyster, what happens?
Get a pearl.
Before a pearl comes out, there's a lot of agitation that happens. And because of that agitation, that oyster releases a serum that over time becomes a pearl. The human mind is like that. You go through status quo, nothing changes. Put a provocative thought, and that starts to shift the way we look at life, isn't it? So do I have your permission to challenge your mind? I hope
Yeah.
it gives an insight, yes? So I believe human beings are like, tell me what you see on the screens, yeah? I believe human beings are like, women are like, what do you see here?
Star.
Sure, right? We are good in certain areas. I call them our areas of natural talents and strengths. And we also have our things that we don't do as well, non-talents and weaknesses, isn't it? We all have them. Yes. Everyone, yes. Unmute yourself. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah. Now, tell me, how many of you have got kids? Raise your hand up if you have kids. And tell me, either write in the chat or say it out loud, if your child gets A in English, your daughter gets A in English and C in mathematics, where do you spend all your time, effort, and energy? The A's or the C's? What would you all say?
C.
See, isn't it? Why? Because right from childhood, we have been brainwashed by our parents, by our education system. If you're good in something, maintain the status quo. If you're bad in something, go and fix the weaknesses. Why? Because we want to make people to become well-rounded, good in a lot of areas, isn't it? But I say, just imagine. Just imagine what could happen if you focus on the A's, things people do well, things that they have the opportunity to succeed in, things that they get energy from. And I'm not saying ignore the C's. If you ignore the C's, you'll fail. You can't afford to fail. But do them enough so they don't get in the way of your success. If you focus on the A's while managing your C's, it gives you the opportunity to become, to become, to become, to become
A or star.
superstars, rock stars, bigger stars. I say, think about the world's most successful people. That's exactly what they did. They identified what they were good at a very young age, and they invested 10,000 hours of effort in growing in those areas. And when I say 10,000 hours, that is just subconscious effort. When you put conscious effort and attention to anything, it grows, isn't it? Think about Celine Dion, the singer. What if a coach said, "Oh, you're going to the vocals, let's forget about that. Let's practice the drums, the saxophone." No, ballet, will make you a well-rounded musician. Could she become a great diva, isn't it? That's what we need to start thinking about. Are we pointing out faults in our daughters, in our sons all the time? Are we trying to build on their weaknesses and not giving them the opportunity to succeed in what they do really well? Here's what I would also leave you with is to provide a support system. Doesn't mean that we provide them just financial support. People are good in the A's and not good in the C's, but we tend to try to focus on the C's. How we should do is we should surround themselves with people who are good in things they are not good at. You know, Serena Williams, Venus Williams, you take enough examples, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, take enough examples in the world. What makes great leaders leaders is a support system they have where they don't have to become somebody else. So why are we trying to force our kids to be a second-grade version of ourselves? Why shouldn't we let them be them, isn't it? So I leave you with that thought, is we speak about this a lot. Women should empower women. The question we should be asking, why is it not happening? Why is it not happening? We've been talking about this narrative for over 10 years, 20 years now. For that to change, we need to fundamentally shift the way we are approaching this. We should stop looking at problems and faults in other women, other people around us, and start focusing on their strengths. So whatever you pay attention to will grow. You pay attention to the goodness in a person will grow. You pay attention in the worst of a person, that'll grow too, isn't it? So let's pay attention to the goodness in all the women around us to help them succeed, isn't it? Because that will boost confidence. That will reduce imposter syndrome. On that note, thank you for your time. Like I said, this is the conversation that starts a new thought process. And I hope you're able to embrace this and take this back and start to shift the way you look at your children and your colleagues as well. And that. So thank you. Back to you, Tim and Flora.
Thank you so much, Saurabh. And thank you, Grace. I know Grace and Saurabh, the two of you are left, and we've lost three of our panelists. I mean, a big thanks to the other three, that Dr. Sapia and Aisha, for their time as well. And thank you so much for being with us and sharing your perspectives and your insights on women in leadership, and just generally being around to have a conversation with us on this very important topic.
You know what, Tim, I really hope that, the people who didn't get to join us today can listen in and we could spread the message about this video, because I thought there was so many important messages out there, not only for women, because there was like such a rich experience sharing from all our female panelists today about their experience and, how, and I think that gives confidence to the other women to say, if they've done it, I can do it, and also, from the gentleman, Saurabh and Adeb, with their experience in working with women, as well as also trends and theories, which gladly brought onto our session too as well to share with us. So I think all those was wonderful sharing, and I hope that a lot of more people out there can actually listen to our recording after this and pick up all those nuggets to bring women into leadership. So we're gonna hand this over. Thank you, everybody.